Welcome back to the Vanier Woodshop. I'm Mr. Dakinowicz. This is the drill press. Today we're going to talk about how to use it properly and some of the safety things we need to be aware of. The first and foremost thing, you always need to have your safety glasses on when you're using the drill press. Hearing protection is recommended. I'm not going to require that you use hearing protection, but you definitely need to have eyeglasses on. This machine is used for drilling holes or boring holes into wood. So we have our piece of wood, we have our machine. There's different parts to it. On this side we have our handle. This allows us to move it up and down. We also on this side have a depth stop, which I'll demo to you a little bit later how we use it. We've got our on-off button right on the front, on and off. And this is one of the machines we have to wait for it to stop. So you see that it slows down. We never want to try and just grab this chuck with our hands. It's got nice sharp teeth that could actually do some real damage if we try and stop it. We never want to wear gloves when we're using this. They have the potential to get caught, which brings us to our no dangly rule, which applies especially to this machine. If you have long hair, you want to tie it back. If you have, well, you're not allowed to have headphones in here, so you won't have your headphones in. If you have drawstrings on a hoodie or a sweater, those have to be either tied in a bow or tucked inside. And we want to make sure that we have no baggy clothes or big arm sleeves on things. I always roll my sleeves up or make sure that I'm wearing a short sleeve shirt when I'm in the wood shop, and especially when I'm using this machine. There's a couple machines in the shop that would love to get to know you better. This is one of them. There's a couple things that can happen. If your hair gets caught in this when it's spinning, two things will happen. One, your hair will move and wrap around very quickly, and you will immediately almost bang your head on this, which will hurt terribly. The second, and probably better option, is that your hair will actually move faster than your head, and it will just rip the hair right out of your head. So you want to make sure that you've always got stuff tied up and you've always got your hair tied back. We don't want that to happen. So let's talk about a couple more parts. This is our chuck, and this is our drill bit. We can put multiple different types of drill bits into the drill press. On the back there's a chain. The chain has a chuck key. It looks like this. The chuck key fits into the drill press, and we can actually turn it, which allows us to change the drill bit. On a note, we never, ever, ever want to leave the chuck key in the drill press. If somebody were to walk by and start this, this chuck key would fly somewhere in the room. It's on a chain, but there's a pretty good chance it's going to hit that person. If ever you're walking by and you see that somebody's forgot and left it there, you're just going to pull it out, set it on the table, or pull it out and let it hang to the side. So speaking of drill bits, we have multiple different types. This is called a twist drill bit. It's small. It drills a tiny hole. This is called a Forstner bit. These come in multiple sizes, but this is a fairly large one. If you're drilling something with a large hole, you want to make sure that the speed is slower on the drill press. If you're drilling something that is going to leave a smaller bore or a hole, you can use a higher speed. So the smaller the bit, the faster it goes. The bigger the bit, the slower you turn the drill press speed. We also have something called a hole saw. They look a lot like this. They have a pilot hole, and then they cut out what looks like a hockey puck at the end. But these are used if you need to drill a bigger hole through the material. When you're using the drill press, you want to make sure that you have your wood, that it's clean. You want to make sure that you've got something underneath the drill press. Right now you can see that we've got two pieces of plywood sandwiched. There's a metal plate underneath. We always want to set the drill press so it doesn't drill through the metal plate. That's why we have this. It's a sacrificial piece. You can see that it's already been drilled into a few times. When you have something that you're working on, and it's very important that you have the the hole drilled in the exact right spot, we use something called an awl. An awl is a sharp, pointy little tool. It kind of looks like a screwdriver. When you set that spot, you don't need a hammer. You just basically have to give it a pop, and it will create a small hole right where we want to drill it. So we're going to put this drill bit back in. I'm going to pull out my chuck key. I'm going to tighten it clockwise. I'm always going to tighten in 2 different spots just to make sure that it's good. I'm going to not leave my chuck key in. I'm going to check it. We're happy. Now, I'm almost ready to drill this hole. So, I'm going to set this down. I'm going to line this up. This drill press has a really nice feature in that you can do this. It's called a quill lock. This is the quill. Now I can line up exactly where I want to be quite easily. And I'm always going to clamp my material to the drill press table. I'm going to use 2 of these. These are called quick grip clamps. They're awesome. You always use 2 because if you only use 1, you actually create a pivot point, not a drill point. Now that that's locked in place, I can turn this on. But before I do that, I got to remember to unlatch my quiver lock. Now my drill is moving freely. So I'm going to still put a hand on this. I want to make sure that it's still not there. Now when I'm drilling on a small bit like this, I can drill straight through. If I'm drilling something bigger, I'm going to do what's called peck drilling, and I'm going to bring the drill up periodically to allow the chips to clear as I'm cutting through the material. I now have made my hole. I'm happy. That's your standard piece. If I was drilling something long like this, I want to make sure that I always put the extra length to the left of the machine when I'm looking at it. So in this case, over here. The reason why, if I'm cutting down, and this isn't clamped, because I'm showing this as a demo, but if I have this and it catches, what's going to happen is this piece of wood is going to swing around and it's going to hit me right in the side. And that's going to hurt. It's probably going to leave a big bruise. So if I have to cut something that's long, I want to make sure that that part is on the side. Now if it catches and swings, this piece is going to swing and it's going to hit this big column, and it's not going to hit me, and it's not going to hit somebody else. We want to always make sure that happens because you don't want that drill bit or the piece of wood that you're drilling to come around and hit you in the side. If you're drilling something really small, and we had a tiny piece that we needed to drill, and this piece was unrealistic that we could actually clamp this down because it's tiny, I'm going to use what's called a drill press vise. It looks a lot like this. They sit well. I can now set my piece that I need to drill. I can line it up. I can tighten this. I only need hand pressure. I don't need to crank this super tight. Now I can set this drill press or this drill press vise wherever I need it. Make sure that I'm happy with where the hole is going to drill. They're pretty heavy, but I'm still, just because I want to be safe, I'm going to put a couple clamps on this just to lock it into place. Now when I go to cut, I'm still going to put my hand here to lock it in place. I can now cut through something that is fairly small. I'm going to wait for the drill press to stop. I can loosen off my clamps. And now I've drilled that hole in my tiny piece that I couldn't clamp normally. So this usually lives right underneath the drill press and just stays on the floor. The last thing that I want to talk about is drilling round stock. So if you have to drill something like this, this is called a dowel or round stock. It's really hard to start a hole in round stock without it skipping, especially in the metal shop. It is a little bit easier in here, but we can use that drill press vise again, which I shouldn't have put away just yet, but the drill press vise will allow us to hold our piece of round stock. We can clamp that in, and now we will be able to drill into this dowel. You always want to make sure that you don't drill as fast as you can. When you're starting the hole, you want to come in to it really slow. You can increase your speed as you're in the middle of the piece of wood or your stock, but you want to finish the hole quite slowly. That will prevent it from blowing out the back and giving you an unattractive cut. The last, or one more thing that we want to talk about is if you're setting the depth, or if you need to drill a hole that doesn't go all the way through the piece of wood, we have a depth stop set on this side. Once we set that, we can actually have it so that we don't drill all the way through our machine. So we have this bolt with a nut on it. Right now, it's set that it stops just shy, but if we wanted to bring it up, if we were cutting this board but we didn't want to cut all the way through, we would now be able to adjust this nut so that we would only cut halfway through our board. And that would allow us, if we needed to make a series of cuts that were identical depth, we could do that over and over, and we would never go deeper than the nut would allow us. That's our drill press. Thanks for watching. If you have any questions or feel like you need more explanation, please do not hesitate to ask. As I stated before, you always want to make sure that you're comfortable using a machine. If you're in any way uncomfortable, please come to me and I will help you or individually work with you so that you understand and are able to use that machine and feel safe and confident before. Don't just walk up to a machine that you've never used, turn it on and see what happens. You always want to make sure you know what you're doing. Thanks for watching.